Okay, inspectors, welcome to a special episode of Phantology. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that we're actually doing our first ever live show of Phantology. It only took us 30 to 45 minutes to set this up, and we're not proud of that. But we are proud to be reviewing an advanced copy of Daniel Greene's novella, The Breach of Peace. Actually, just Breach of Peace. And I should mention that we have Ben on the line joining remote. He was not able to make the live show, unfortunately.
I just want to clarify, this is not live in the sense that it is being streamed live. It is live in the sense that more than one person is. Yeah.
Yeah, we are living here together in the same small space.
Except for me, I'm not. If in case you're not watching on YouTube. But yeah, I also, guys, Breach of Peace, I'm not sure how much Daniel Greene planned this, but Bop is pretty cool as a shortened version of Breach of Peace, right?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, Bop, it's a bop.
I don't know what that means.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get in the live shows, I guess.
It's a bop.
We ever heard someone say that about a song or something? Oh man, that's a bop.
Songs. Maybe when we're in like the 60s, you're like, oh, that thing's bopping.
Yeah, okay, we're dating ourselves here. It's a little catchier than like walk for Way of Kings, although that's actually a real word.
I need one of those.
Yeah, I'm just referring to earlier today, Ben and I reviewed Way of Kings with my roommate. And earlier today, I also put out a review of Breach of Peace. So this is my third recording of the day. So we'll see how much energy I've left for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting with non-spoilers. We're going to do a quick episode there. The idea is to put this out when the book actually launches. Like we said, we got an advanced copy from Daniel Greene. So thank you, Daniel, for that. And here is our review, our honest opinion of the book. So no spoilers first. So let's kind of talk about the book at a high level. Like what should people expect if they're getting into Breach of Peace?
So it's a short novella. It's about 140 pages, maybe a 3-hour. I think the audiobook was 3 hours.
Okay.
And we didn't get the audiobook, but that's what Murphy said. And it's really exciting. It's a page turner. It follows 3 detectives and it keeps you going through the entire time.
Yeah. I read it in 2 sittings, and I thought that was a great way to consume it. I think that like halfway through is a pretty good stopping point. Anyway, that's kind of high level. What about this? What about this question? What other book would you compare this to? Like fans of Blake would enjoy Breach.
Like what are the influences that were beset upon Daniel Greene that inspired this?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this.
Ooh.
My first reaction was Powder Mage.
Yeah.
Kind of due to the setting, time period, but not much else other than that.
Really?
So I think if you took Stephen King writing a Dresden, like last half of a book, second half of a book,
yeah, I can see
and
that.
combine that with some sort of flintlock fantasy, then you would get this book. Like Dresden in the sense that it's just like a page turner, like stuff is happening nonstop.
Yeah.
It just goes and goes.
And it like the main characters are inspectors, so you have the kind of case mystery that you get with Dresden.
The whole story is one case and it takes place over a short amount of time.
I really think the Stephen King comparison is really apt. Surprisingly creepy parts done really well.
Honestly, I can't remember the last time I was like legitimately kind of afraid, like creeped out by a book, but there is one scene in this book that was legitimately creepy.
I would also say the action scenes, especially the more horror influenced scenes, felt very cinematic. And I mean, that goes to show the strength of his writing. Also, just the novellas in general, like they're a little more fast-paced and cinematic. But
yeah, how much do you think the fact that it was a novella influenced some of the decisions that were made? Like one thing that I would point to is the world building is interesting, but there wasn't quite enough time for him to set up too many details. So it left me wanting more. And I feel like in a longer frame book, we would have got that. But I think he kind of had to make the decision that he wasn't going to do all that info dump stuff of the setting because there just wasn't enough time, and it would be it would clog up the shortened number of pages.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a world fleshed out in his own mind and his notes. But obviously you can't get in all to that in a novella. But he does drop enough hints to let us know that, okay, there is something a lot more here that we're just going to need more content in order to fully experience it.
It's kind of like you're in the plateau on Breath of the Wild. That's kind of how I thought of it. Like you kind of do like one shrine, you're up on one tower, you kind of see a little bit of the world, and that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
What about you, Ben? What comparisons would you do?
Yeah, I thought about Dresden for sure when I was reading it, especially because the first book of Dresden also kind of has a graphic crime scene in it.
Yeah,
that's true.
It was
not as graphic.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, in Dresden, it's not really spoilers, but you got like hearts exploding out of ribcage in the middle of a sexual act, so it's pretty graphic.
When you say it that way, when you say it that way, it sounds bad.
We're getting demonetized.
Are we?
No,
monetized?
We're not monetized. We got nothing to lose here. But yeah, so I don't know, but that's why it's comparable. I also think it was pretty dark, so if you like, Joe Abercrombie or these like a little bit more dark books, then you'll like this book.
Yeah, I would say it's for sure grimdark, and it's I think on the top of the dark fantasy list right now.
Yeah. So and then
it's like grimdark combined with horror, I'd say.
Yeah,
there's some horror aspects of it.
Sounds quite dark.
Well, what's funny?
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I was gonna say during our February fantasy news episode, we asked the question, can it still be considered fantasy if there's no magic in it? Yeah. And this book kind of straddles that line. There is magic, and we talked about like the creature magic that can occur in some books, and I think that kind of straddles this line. Mm-hmm. But magic wasn't like a pervasive influence in the book.
And it's never really clear if it really has magic.
Yeah, it could be some type
is it
of
magic or is it technology or science?
Let's not get too far into spoilers.
But
I mean, it's pretty.
That's kind of the general feel of the book.
Yeah. I'll also throw 1984 out there as an influence. I think there's some, just like the way that the society is set up kind of has that like controlling feel to it, and it's not explored a whole lot, but that's the vibe I got.
You also know Red Rising could be a good comparison too. It kind of, Red Rising has that kind of like Orwellian feel in some parts. I'm thinking specifically in the first part of the
dystopian-esque type thing.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
That being said, don't think you're going in to read a dystopian novel, because it's not.
Right. It's not a dystopian novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just the government that exists in it is similar to one.
Yeah. So I think we do need to give a content warning. We kind of already danced around this with just the nature of the grimdark and horror. There's a lot of graphic, like gore type of things, especially. So if that's not something you're going to stomach super well, you want to skim over some parts, or maybe this isn't for you. And then there's some significant swearing as well. So both those things should just be noted. Yeah.
I agree with that. It's definitely not a book that you would like. I probably wouldn't give it to my 13-year-old nephew. You know what I mean? It's a book that.
No, it's definitely an adult.
Yeah, it would stick with you if you read it when you're good. So. Oh, but that being said, you could probably skip over the first like 5 pages, and it gets significantly less violent after that. So.
And we'll talk more about some of those things in our next episode, which will be dropped right after this. Will be full spoilers.
Yeah. Okay, some other non-spoiler things that we could talk about are things like prose. What do we think about that?
Yeah, so that's kind of like Daniel Greene's a booktuber. He dropped a book. Is he an author? That's probably what most people are going to come into this thinking, right? And I mentioned this in the YouTube video that I put out, but sometimes you hear of someone writing a book, your uncle, your brother, your booktuber friend, whatever. And I always kind of like internally cringe, or I'm just like a little worried to read it. 'Cause like, what if it's not good, you know? And so I think most people are wondering that, right? Like, is Daniel Greene an author as well? And I think he is, right? Like, we all enjoyed this book, and it was his first published work. And there were probably a few rough patches that can definitely be smoothed over with more practice. But, you know, for a first publication, great job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to read one passage that I thought was really, really good writing.
Okay.
And it's, so it says, his eyes refused to leave hers. Their gray calm clashed with her own brown-eyed fury. And then it has a swear word that I'm not going to say. So, but I mean,
why even say that?
You could just stop.
But that's pretty good, right? His eyes refused to leave hers. Their gray calm clashed with her own brown-eyed fury. I mean, that's like pretty good prose, and it's something I would have never thought to put in a book, like eye colors clashing with each other. Pretty good, Daniel.
Yeah. I think to go along with Stephen's point, a lot of people are going to look at Daniel as, you know, a fan of fantasy, but can a fan be an author? And I think that's kind of like a irrational judgment to be made, because every fantasy author since Tolkien has been a fan of fantasy, right?
Yeah,
that's why they write.
They all read each other. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were buddies.
Yeah. So, I definitely think he is an author. This is much better than I would have expected a YouTuber to be able to do. So stop thinking of him as just a YouTuber. Think of him as an author.
It's like what was that, Jake Paul or Logan Paul going into the boxing ring? Who's that guy?
Yeah, this is equivalent of the Pauls transitioning to boxing.
Just think of it that way.
So one thing I will say, and Daniel talked about this on one of his live streams or one of his videos, but he talked about how he did go through like an editing process, and how he paid an editor to go through and edit it and smooth out some of the rough parts. And you can tell. Yeah. And he kind of put that out there in the self-pub industry, that sometimes people skip that step. And it's understandable, because that like costs money, and people are just doing this as a little pet project. But I think that's really what made this read well. You can tell that like a professional went over this and helped him smooth out some parts, I think.
That said, and maybe I'm just a pro snob, but I felt like there were a few times it's a little jarring. Like some of the wording that he used, like I felt like we were busting out the
cogitations.
Was that? Did he use that? There was some definitely some thesaurus. I can never say that word. Thesaurus. That was definitely busted out. I would assume. I don't know. Maybe he's got an amazing lexicon.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, it never.
I mean,
I felt like I was reading Miles on it a couple of times where it's like, what is this word?
He obviously isn't Patrick Rothfuss, but I didn't think the prose gotten away with the story at all. I think there's times it definitely made the story more enjoyable. But nothing negative to say about the prose for me.
Yeah. Well, Jake, I remember you saying that you thought you found a typo. So I don't know if that has to do with prose or what, but
the typo had to do with a character's last name, and I'm not even sure if it is a typo. I have to go back and look.
All right, hold the presses on that one.
Okay, Stephen, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What did you think about the names? Because I know that you're a big name nerd. Or name snob, more like it. Like things can't be too complicated.
Turns out I'm a snob in general. Yeah, I don't like names that are too crazy out there.
They need to be original too.
Yeah, they should be original, but they also shouldn't be so hard that I like don't know how to pronounce them or don't remember them. I thought for the most part, the main character's name is Clyd, Khlid, which is definitely not a name I've ever heard before, but I didn't hate it.
The rest of the names are pretty.
Yeah,
Chapman is a good name.
Yeah, I like Chapman. I like Sam. Sam is one we've heard before.
When I read her name Clyd, it made me think, oh, this is kind of different. I wonder why he chose this name when all the other names are a little more commonplace.
Let's not get into spoilers, because I feel like I might.
Yeah, I know. But I'm interested to learn how people come up with names that they want to use, especially when that one is so different than others.
Yeah.
Within the same book, but.
Okay, so what else should we talk about in the non-spoiler? I mean, we should maybe mention like the plot and in general the pacing. It read very quickly. It was exciting. It was your murder mystery type feel to it.
You could easily read this in one sitting. I think.
Yeah.
Did you, Jake?
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted to, but I just started kind of late at night, and about the 50% way, I just kind of needed to go to sleep. But yeah, you could easily read this in one sitting. The 50% mark, or it's like 48%. Is a really good stopping point.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's a fast read, not in a negative way, in a good way. Like it's a page turner. I think the plot was pretty well done for a mystery. That can kind of be hard to execute. Make sure you leave enough clues to get people interested, but not too much to make it obvious.
Yeah.
Like I think he balanced that pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that from the very first start, you're trying to kind of figure along with everybody. And so that was good. I would also say
that was, sorry. Another thing that was done exceptionally well was the character work. I think that there was kind of three main investigators or inspectors, I should say. And each one of them had like a distinct personality and a distinct tone about them and had a cool voice.
And they have a good like repertoire between themselves.
And you felt like you're kind of dropped into these people's lives, and they had like well-established relationships that came through.
And even like the tertiary characters.
Skeptical of this.
I agree with.
I don't know. I think that was one of the weaker parts for me, to be honest.
I think that two of them had a really good personality. I don't know about the third, but I thought that was made up for with tertiary characters like the captain. We're kind of getting into spoilers, but not really. We're just yeah. So that's good.
We'll talk more about these hot takes.
This is hard to judge. It's novella. There's not a lot of time to really get into the characterization.
That's the thing.
Also, it's a brand new world we don't really know about, so it's really hard to judge. I would say, it's not the best characterization you've ever seen.
No,
but definitely above average. Solid work.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say for non-spoiler / things you might want to know, there is an audiobook and it is narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. So I know for a lot of our listeners, that's going to be a big deal. So if that's something that you're into, definitely look that up. And I mean, just support Daniel Greene because he's done a lot for, I think, just fantasy books in general. And this is a way to kind of give back. So
nice. Okay, let's close this out with some ratings. So out of 10. So what do you guys give the novella?
I'm going to give my rating as well as my favorite aspect of the novella. So for me,
all right.
I felt like, just because I had more to say, I guess, I felt like the spookiness, horror, like the thriller aspect I feel like it was done super well. And I don't know if it's because I just wasn't expecting it and it came out of nowhere and I just really liked it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
Ratings out of 10 are so subjective, but I'm going to say 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to say 8 out of 10 too. I mean, with the caveat that I'm viewing this as a first published book.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
So
in context.
I think I gave Rhythm of War an 8 out of 10 as well. So like this is obviously like a different 8 out of 10 than like Rhythm of War.
8 out of 10, really?
Yeah, I definitely gave Rhythm of War 8 out of 10.
I give it 9
Different
out of 10.
context though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I've given a lot of 8 out of 10s lately, but this was a really big treat for me. I expected that Daniel would put out something good because I mean, I don't know him, but it seems like he comes across as somebody that wouldn't put something out that was bad.
Yeah.
Just based on his YouTube channel quality. Mm-hmm. And so I expected it to be readable, but I didn't expect it to really, really suck me in and it consumed me the way it did. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to take kind of an opposite approach and compare it. I think you got to compare it to great books, right? So for me, I don't read very many novellas. Most of the novellas I have read are by Sanderson. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So
true.
So if I think about Emperor Cell, that's gonna be a 9.5 out of 10. I love that book.
Shadows.
Page turner.
For Silence and the Force of Hell.
Shadows of Silence.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, super good. 9.5 again.
That'd be a really good comparison to this book.
What about the Dresden novellas, like the ones that make up the compilation?
Well, those are kind of more short stories.
Those are not, those are, I mean, I guess they're not 140 pages. They're a little shorter.
Yeah, I don't know. But so if I'm comparing it to those books, I'm going to have to say like a 6 out of 10 because I don't know. But if I'm just comparing, like,
sorry, I like this more than the original by Brandon Sanderson and the person he collabed with.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, I probably like it more than the originals.
Yeah, that one wasn't my favorite, to be
honest.
But
again, that's kind of more of an experimental medium. You're collabing with another author for an Audible original. I don't know.
Just saying, as a way that I like legitimately like this book better than that book, I think it adds a lot of weight.
Yeah, no, I agree. But that's why I'm not sitting here giving it like a 4 out of 10. I think it's a really good book.
Phantology believes that Daniel Greene is better than Brandon Sanderson. You heard it here.
Okay.
I think that, okay, whatever. Yeah, you can.
All right, I'm going
You had your rating,
7.5.
okay.
I'm going 7.5 out of 10. I think we already kind of talked about reasons. You guys liked it a little bit? I mean, solid book. 7.5 is a good rating.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thanks for tuning into the non-spoiler edition. On the flip side, in the next episode we publish, which I believe we're going to try to drop on the same day, we'll do full spoiler, talk through the plot, what we liked, what we didn't like, etc. So watch for that one. See you then.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Phantology. If you'd like to let us know your opinions on all things sci-fi and fantasy, join our Discord. Invites are in the episode descriptions below. If you'd like to support the show, like these fine folks here, you can do that at patreon.com/phantology_books. Patrons get early access to new episodes, exclusive postings, and exclusive Discord benefits. But of course, just listening and watching and sharing with your friends and family is support enough. Journey before destination all.